and welcome to Grunge Granny. I know it's been a little bit since I've posted a video, but I wanted to talk about that today as we decorate some of these little file folders that I made for some either junk journaling packets or pen pal letters or pen pal packets. I think I want to kind of do all three eventually, but right now I just need to catch up on sending out some pen pal letters, and I'm pretty excited about those. I haven't really done a video that is quite this much real time, but I wanted to go ahead and try it since I was noticing that I myself personally sometimes really enjoy just watching people do things at their normal pace, and it also makes me feel better because I think I'm kind of a slow worker, and whenever I see these videos of people whipping out this intense folder or something, and they do it in, like an 8-minute video, I'm always just like, wow, how did they do that? Even though I know there's cuts and I know that you're not seeing all of it, it makes me feel like, oh, they must have gone into that knowing exactly what they were going to do. They visualized it from the very beginning. And I don't really work like that. A lot of the time I just kind of see what I have, and I think it's because I try to use my scraps a lot of the time. And when I'm using my scraps, I just have to see what I have. It doesn't mean that I know what anything is going to look like before I start. So I know that there are die cuts to make this kind of folder. I think that those actually will have three slots for pockets, but I don't have one of those. So I actually posted a short or a TikTok, depending on where you found my channel from. But if you found it here on YouTube, there should be a short that shows really quickly how I made these folders. Not these ones specifically, but a different one that was larger. And I just folded it in, I guess, up to a two-thirds about. And then used some craft adhesive tape. These little guys I liked a lot because I really wanted more clear ephemera. So I stamped on some tracing paper. That way I could have different transparent ephemera. I've also started utilizing my onion skin notepad for that. I just filled up a page, and I'll show near the end, where I filled up a page with a bunch of different stamps that I liked in different colored inks. Some were brown, some were gold. I think I might have just done gold and black actually. And then I can cut out the ephemera that I want with this little hint of transparency. The onion skin paper is not as transparent as tracing paper, which I think is also kind of cool because then I could layer the onion skin page or onion skin stamp underneath of a tracing paper stamp. And I had put them all together into that little clear envelope that I made so that I could see what was inside of each one. And at first I tried to glue them down with glue sticks, but that doesn't, if you can tell, it curls it up because as soon as it gets just slightly damp, it just wants to wrinkle up, so I had to use the tweezers to push it down. And then I used the end of my glue stick with the lid on to press it down all the way. I've watched a couple other YouTubers that talk about how to do a YouTube channel and how to post things on YouTube. I know one of the biggest things is consistency, the other thing is volume, and it's hard to be a crafter or a maker and record it and then edit all of it when you're still needing to make and craft things, especially if you do have a shop. And I have a shop, and that's primarily where I try to put everything so that I can generate income for my family, and so it's a real challenge for me to figure out how I want to time block or how I want to arrange my days. Maybe I should have a day of editing, and I tried doing that for a bit, and I don't think that that was the best way to do it. I'm noticing that the best way for me to do it is if I slowly edit over time. I do have so many things recorded, but just not edited, and I had a hard time deciding what exactly I was going to post whenever I finally did post, and I think the longer that I waited, it got harder and harder for me to finalize that decision. And I think it's kind of funny that I decided just to go with these pockets because I realized that I was freaking myself out and I was putting too much pressure on myself when realistically I can still post anything that I previously recorded and I can still always record things. I don't know if anybody else that's watches anybody like other crafters channels, but it is definitely interesting to see how many people will just do all things in real time with little to no editing. And then there's the ones that are like 3 different shots and they're talking to the camera and they're telling you what they're doing in real time and they have all these effects, and those are very entertaining, but I can't imagine spending that much time on a video right now. And I think it's because I need to put my focus into my shop. Part of the reason why I didn't post for a while was because I went to New Orleans to visit my birth mother. I'm adopted by my grandmother, so I refer to my birth mother as my birth mother because I call my grandmother my mama because she was the mama that raised me. And I went down to see her because I hadn't seen her in a while. And of course, COVID times, and I just really felt like I needed to be around some family. And while I was there, I was realizing all of these things about loss and the way we internalize loss. My partner went down also with his mother, and they were working on arrangements for his father who passed last year. And I was watching how his family was processing loss, and then also seeing my birth mother and talking to her about loss. And when I came home, I just needed to purge my house. My mom died 10 years ago, and so it's interesting because it's my birth mother and I share the same mom. We were raised by the same woman, and so we could talk about it. And when I went there, I was realizing how much I held on to kind of, I guess, give myself this idea of a childhood that I didn't have. And I came home and just immediately started decluttering and immediately started purging. There was a lot of stuff that I held on to that I think I held on to as if I was going to show her someday. But I also do believe that she's watching over me, and I believe that she would have already seen it. And so I don't need to have the tangible, physical product of the thing, or from, I don't know, things from school that when I went to grad school, which is now like 6 years ago, I just didn't need to hold on to those things anymore. I didn't need to have all these things that were physical and taking up space in my very tiny apartment that I was using to indicate something about my identity. And I had this really great kind of moment of clarity where I realized, you know what, I don't need this thing to signify that I am smart or creative or, that I enjoy writing or that I enjoy such and such thing or these kinds of articles. And I had to do that once already with all of my books. There was a long period of time where I was hoarding all of my books. And it was because I kept thinking that I was going to have to one day prove myself to someone that I'd read these books. Oh, and so this is the sheet of the onion skin paper from the notepad that I stamped all over so I could make myself a different kind of translucent ephemera. I think they turned out so pretty, and this is with gold ink on this little leaf stamp. Little bee. Stuck it right in the corner. But while I was doing that, I had this new realization of, oh no, I haven't gone through certain boxes, and there's a suitcase in my closet that is stuffed full of pictures and paper that are all my mother's that I never went through when I first got that suitcase. And I needed to buckle down and kind of really dig into all of that, like arranging all of these photos, finally putting them in albums, going through the photos and putting them in piles from my childhood to maybe her life before me to older family photos. Because like I said, she was my grandmother, so she has older family photos. and I had to arrange all of those into albums and kind of sort through them. And I think what became the biggest part of that emotional process was realizing that I just hadn't thought about my childhood in a long time. I feel like I had created a version of it, and I know that I definitely have gone through thinking about my trauma and trying to process that. And I had started EMDR last year, which is a form of therapy that uses rapid eye movement. I think rapid eye movement, EMDR, eye movement, something. Oh, this thing. I found this thing at Dollar Tree. It's supposed to be a glue eraser, and I wanted to show how it worked because it's just kind of this little rubber square, and you rub it along, and it kind of sucks up the glue. I tried to use it on the craft adhesive that I gotten on that paper, and that is the blending palette from my Archer and Olive acrylographs that I was using as my little background catch-all, but it would not take off the craft adhesive. It did take off the glue though. And then I have this stamp, which is really old, that was from a library, and so it doesn't have the correct years on it, but I just usually stick it on the little blank lines so that I can do that. And then I found these stamps at Michael's, and they are little clickable stamps so that you can make letters. Anyway, all of that to say that I'm back. It was a long and grueling process. It was emotional, but I feel clearer now. I feel like with the purging and releasing that everything is good and ready to move forward. And here are the little folders all together. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.